Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I'm so glad you could join me today. I have a Christmas card project for you and let's just get started. Okay, here is my Christmas card project. Isn't this just gorgeous? And it is a multiple fold card. So it opens like this and then you see this detail. And then you open it further and you see the inside and there's an opportunity to write your message here. Now I'm changing this up just a little bit only because I don't have this particular stamp set. When my upline was here, she brought it with her and we made this card. So I'm changing mine just a little bit, and then I'm going to be getting this one because I just love the way this Merry Christmas stamped here. All right, so what you need to make this card is the following. This is a piece of Night of Navy, and this card is actually takes up most of the piece of 8.5 by 11. This card is 11 inches long by 5.5 long. So you end up with a strip on the end about that wide. Let's see, so it would be, you end up with a 3-inch strip on the end of this, and so you only get one card. So this is someone very special because it uses quite a bit of cardstock. It's a beautiful card though, I will say that. All right, the next thing we need, I'm using Very Vanilla, and I'm using a piece that is 4 by 5.25, and that's going to go on the inside of our card. And this, by the way, is scored at 3.5 and scored again at 7.75. So 3.5 and 7.75, and it folds up like this. All right, so this piece is going to go in the center, and again it's 4 by 5.25. Then we have a piece to go on the front of the card, and that piece, this doesn't look like it's cut exactly right, so we might have to trim it down, should be 3.25 by 7.75. Let me just check that. So it looks like it needs to be 3 1/8. So I'm just going to take my trimmer and cut off 1/8 of an inch here. There we go. And now that'll fit on that card front just the way I want it to. All right, so 3 1/8 by 5.25, and that is how that's going to fit on there. Then we need a piece of copper, and this piece of copper is 2.5 by 3.75, and that is to cut out this little frame that's here on the front, and I've already cut mine out, and I used the 4th and 5th largest of the stitched rectangle dies to set on here and then run through my die cutting machine. So that's what I've done, and I've already cut my piece, and this piece needs to be at least that big. It can be definitely bigger. This is 2.5 by 3.75, so it could be 2.75 by 4. It depends on how comfortable you are having a smaller piece to cut from. So then the last piece that we need in cardstock is this piece of Very Vanilla that's going to go on the inside of that frame, and that piece needs to be 2 1/8 by 3 1/2. Then we need a piece of designer series paper is cut 3 inches by 5 1/4 and is going to fit on this panel on this side. Then we have 2 strips of designer series paper. One is the stars pattern, and that one is cut 1 inch by 5 1/4, and this one is the ornament paper, and it's cut 1 inch by 3 1/4. And you can see there's lots of little pieces to this, but in the end, it's mostly assembly once you get everything cut and scored appropriately. The biggest challenge for me was figuring out, these panels are so close, which one is the one that is overlaid, and it is the one that is 3 1/2 inches long. Let me just make sure that's right. No, it's 3 3 1/4. So that is the one, the larger one folds in and the smaller one folds over the top. Okay, so let's start putting this together. By the way, for my card, I'm using Greetings from Itty Bitty Christmas because I don't have these, and so I'm using Thinking of You at Christmas. I'm using Happy Christmas because it'll fit right in here. And then I'm using Celebrate the Season for one of the things inside. So that is what I'm using. All right, so let's start by trying to put some of the assembly together. This piece of Very Vanilla is going to go on this panel and has the one of the stamps. This is the one I'm going to use, Thinking of You at Christmas, and I'm using my Night of Navy ink, and going to put that right in the middle. Well, this panel is going to have this piece on it, so we'll just lay this across so we know where this needs to be stamped on this, and I'm thinking right here in the middle, Thinking of You at Christmas, and that way it's centered with this piece in place. And while we're at it, we'll just go ahead and put this piece of designer series paper in place on that panel, and then adhere that panel to the card. This piece on the sample card goes all the way to the end and is fit exactly top to bottom. So that's the way I'm going to lay mine down on here, so there's none of the underlying vanilla cardstock showing through. And there we go. That's our first piece done. I'm going to move the ink out of the way for now. And we're going to go ahead and add this piece to the card panel. Right here, centered on this panel. And there we have our first element down. Now, the inside of the card is going to have this piece of designer series paper on the inside panel. Okay, so this piece is going to just fit right along the edge of this piece of Very Vanilla, and it's going to be fitted top to bottom. And perhaps mine would fit better if it was straight. There we go. And then this piece is going to go on the inside of our card. So we'll add some snail adhesive here. And put this piece with a similar border around it on the inside of the card. There we go. All right. And now we've actually got 2 pieces done. Now I'm going to stamp this and bring back my Night of Navy ink. And this one had put it kind of right in the middle. And because this is a smaller sentiment, celebrate the season, I'm going to center that more towards the top of the inside panel. And that gives, it looks to me like it makes a little bit more sense given the size of that greeting and the size of the panel. So next I'm going to take my frame that I cut out here of my copper and my piece of Very Vanilla, which is going to go right here on the back of this piece. And so I know if I put a little pencil tick mark down here that my greeting needs to be above that tick mark in order to work well on this card. So my last greeting is one that says Happy Christmas. So I'm going to bring that a little closer to me so I can see and put my Happy Christmas down here on my card and erase my pencil mark. Then I'm going to add some liquid glue onto the back of this piece of copper and put this in place. And I'm just going to give that a second to dry. And while that's drying, I'm going to close up my ink. And I'm going to go to the rest of the decoration on the front of this card, which is this piece of paper put down here. So we'll just add some snail adhesive and put that into place. And I'll fit that right here on my piece of Night of Navy. There we go. Excellent. Now this piece is going to go up on dimensionals. All right, this piece is pretty well centered on this panel. And so I'm going to lay it down gently until I get it about where I want it and then push that into place. Now then, on the ornament on the outside, I chose to use a piece of designer series paper to go on mine. On this one, they used the stamp from this stamp set, but again, I don't have this stamp set, and they embossed this ornament pattern on here. I don't know why I didn't get this stamp set. I got the paper, I got the punches, and somehow I missed getting the stamp set, so I'll have to do that. So this piece then has to have dimensionals on it as well. So I'm going to put a couple on either side, and then I'm going to put a couple of minis, one here at the top and one towards the bottom. Because this is designer series paper, it is not as sturdy as a piece of cardstock, so I'm putting lots of dimensionals because I don't want this to sag. Then I'm going to go ahead and put my ornament in place here on the card. And let me move a few of these things out of the way. The last thing on this card was that this denim ribbon It's denim 3/8 of an inch ribbon, and it's like a cotton, and it's woven. Let me bring this up so you can see. And what was done on the original ribbon, and I kind of like the look of it, was to take a little piece of the ribbon here and cut the ribbon and double it up so that we end up with 2 strips of ribbon that are about 3 1/4 inches long. And it really doesn't matter how long, because you can always trim it down to fit. But we're just going to tie a knot bow to go on the top of our ornament here. And so there is just the creating the knot bow. You might want to cut your piece a little bit bigger, it's just easier to handle, and then trim it down. And then putting this knot bow and getting it manipulated so that it looks the way you want it to. I think I'm going to do it on this side so that I can get it a little straighter. And then I'm just going to trim off my ends on my knot bow and put that into place. I'll have to trim that down again because I've not done that evenly. And I'm going to pick up a glue dot. I think that's the side I want. So I'm going to pick up a glue dot right in the center, and then I'm going to pick up one a little bit to the left and one a little bit to the right of the knot, so I can get this thing to lay down exactly the way I want to. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is to put my glue dot in the center on my ornament top, and then decide how I want this knot to sit. I want those tails to kind of come straight out. So there we go. Straight out from the knot on my ornament, and it looks like I'm going to need to trim this side down just a hair to match the other side. There we go. A good pair of ribbon scissors are a must in your craft room, and these are a non-stick titanium pair of scissors, and they have never ever cut anything but ribbon. And when you do that, they stay nice and sharp and allow you to trim your ribbon easily, even to correct little mistakes that are made, and they get in and do that nicely. And there we go. There is our card, our project for the day. I do like this across the bottom a little bit better, and I would do that, I think, in Night of Navy, rather than, I think we used Early Espresso on this one. And but the rest of this, I think, came out absolutely perfectly. And I'm not going to add any additional bling. We do have those stars that are in copper, and they would match a little bit of the paper here. But I think with the copper foiling and the copper frame here, that really is plenty of bling on the front of this card. Anyway, there it is. And I think I'm going to use this card as my swaps for convention coming up next month. So I'll be making a ton of these. So thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would love to be your demonstrator. And or you could join my team, and it would be lovely to have you on my team. So that's it for me today. My prize draw for the month of October is a bundle out of the holiday catalog of your choice. And all it takes to be in my drawing is to put an order of any size on my website, lbedinger.stampinup.net, and you can get to it through my blog, www.inkandingenuity.com. And again, that's it for me. I'll be back soon with more cards, more tips, and more projects. Bye!